السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله تعالى من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأن سيدنا محمدا عبده ورسوله وصفيه من خلقه وخليله، بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح للأمة فكشف الله تعالى به الغمة وجاهد في الله حق جهاده حتى أتاه اليقين من ربه. اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد الرحمة المهداة. اللهم صل وسلم عليه في الأولين وفي الآخرين وفي الملأ الأعلى إلى يوم الدين. اللهم آته الوسيلة والفضيلة والدرجة العالية الرفيعة، وابعث اللهم المقام المحمود الذي وعدته إنك لا تخلف الميعاد. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. All praises belonging to Allah Azza wa Jal, and may the peace and blessings be upon His beloved Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and upon his family and companions in entirety. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal on this blessed day of Friday to record us among His accepted and guided servants, and to make us of those who take advantage of every moment of life while we have it, and are received in their akhirah, in their graves, in a state of joy and happiness, and a state of illumination. May Allah Azza wa Jal make our graves nur for us in our akhirah. May Allah make the graves the beginning of our journey to Jannah. Allahumma ameen. And may He make the best of our days the last of our days, and the best of our actions the last of our actions, and the best of all days the day we meet Him and He is pleased with us. Allahumma ameen. Allahumma ameen. Brothers and sisters, it's been 1 week since Eid, and in this past week and throughout Ramadan, we've had many things to reflect on, signs from Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always promises that He will show us signs. Signs that cause us to turn back to Him. Signs that teach us about the significance of this dunya in relation to the akhirah. About what's a priority, about something worthwhile, about what I should take advantage of and what I should invest in. سنريهم آياتنا في الآفاق وفي أنفسهم حتى يتبين لهم أنه الحق. I will show them my signs in the horizons and within themselves until it becomes very clear to them that it is the ultimate manifest truth. The signs in this past week, brothers and sisters, relate to two deaths of individuals that had a great deal of prominence, especially one of them, especially in America, and the other worldwide. And through their deaths, Allah Azza wa Jal gave us a lot to reflect on. What will my janazah look like? How will my janazah look? Who will I be when the angels come for me? What will the angels look like? Will my life have been worthwhile after everything's all said and done? When will my moment come? No one will have any answers for any of these. No one of us will be able to answer these while we're still here. We'll only find out when we get there. The two deaths are of two individuals in their 30s, very young, left behind young children. Both of them very sudden in nature. And at first glance, when you hear about it, it devastates. You feel devastated. That's sad. How could that happen? Why? When? What were the circumstances? And you're searching for answers. As someone still in Alam al-Shahada. For us, this is Alam al-Shahada, the witnessed world. We're still in Alam al-Shahada, this dunya. This is the observed reality that we can see. We're not part of Alam al-Ghayb yet. Alam al-Arwah, the realm of the souls. The unseen realm that is around us. And very real, but just it's beyond our capacity to perceive it while we're in our bodies as they are in the dunya. At first glance, you get devastated when you hear stories like this. Young people passing away suddenly. But the thing that Allah Azza wa Jal showed us in these two stories is, if you look beyond that, you see something that's magnificent and something that's very, very beautiful. For one of the brothers, his name is Muhammad Mu'adh Samir al-Nas, rahimahullah rahmatan wasi'ah. One of them dedicated his life to inspiring people to love the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was known for his nasheed and for his spirituality and for always speaking and voicing his love for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in such a beautiful way, such an inspiring way. And the other dedicated his life to inspiring others to love the Quran. And his life altogether was a sign for all those who could see. That's Shaykh Abdullah Kamil, and his janazah is today, shortly after Salat al-Jumu'ah, in New Jersey, nearby, in Lincoln Park, at 3 p.m. If we want to reflect a little bit more on this, reflections from the janazah, we saw the janazah of the first brother, Mu'adh. And all of the du'as, Mu'adh, if you don't know who he was or what his story is, someone entered Ramadan perfectly healthy, fine, no problem at all. He started getting headaches in the month of Ramadan. He went and got checked up. And they found a tumor. And they put him in surgery. And he never woke up. And he passed away a day or two after Eid. May Allah Azza wa Jal have mercy upon him. And when the news came out, initially for the first day everyone was making dua for his shifa. Spread like wildfire. From America to Europe to the Muslim world, all over the place. Spread very quickly. And then very quickly, everybody across the world made dua that Allah Azza wa Jal have mercy upon his soul. This dunya, brothers and sisters, is a very fleeting reality. Very transitional. A fool is one who banks on the dunya lasting for a long time. Even today, I saw there was a janazah notice for a young person in our community. His janazah is today at ICPC Patterson. Very young person. I don't know the name. May Allah Azza wa Jal have mercy upon him. Allah is best aware of him. May Allah accept him and forgive him. Allahumma ameen. It's a very fleeting reality. But the reflection here on the janazah, people from, the brother passed away in Houston, Texas. People from different parts of the world, all tuning in. Some of them flying there, receiving the body, making dua in a state of tadarru' and inaba. His father is a prominent scholar from Syria, Shaykh Osamah al-Nas. Making dua for him. That's something to think about. What will my janazah look like? Well, that depends on who I am or who I become as a person. Some janazahs change people's lives, inspire people by the thousands or by the millions. And some janazahs aren't even attended by the own family members of the person who passed away. It's a devastating reality. That's devastating. The first one's not devastating because it's the person going from the dunya and its alam and its false amal, its pains and its false hopes, going back to Allah Azza wa Jal, who's more merciful and more loving. He's al-Wadud, more caring than any person, than any of His creation can ever be. The second one, I don't want to be that person. That when I leave this dunya, my life would not have meant really much. Not even to my own family. That's scary. One of the scholars in the past, he noted to those of misguidance, he said, بَيْنَنَا وَبَيْنَكُمُ الْجَنَائِزِ. Between us and you is the janazah. Allah Azza wa Jal honors people through how they leave this dunya. Because we as an ummah, we're programmed to think, how will it all end? إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالْخَوَاتِيمِ. Prophet ﷺ teaches us to think like this. Things, actions are assessed and judged by how they are finished off. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالْخَوَاتِيمِ. This is a manhaj hayah for the mu'min. This is a mode of living. How is it all going to end? Where is it going? What's next? That's what the mu'min thinks about. Right? بَيْنَنَا وَبَيْنَكُمُ الْجَنَائِزِ. How will it end? How it ends speaks volumes to how it began and how it was lived. How it ends speaks volumes to how it began and how it was lived. Why? Prophet ﷺ, he tells us about this reality. He says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, وَإِنَّ أَحَدَكُمْ لَيَعْمَلُ بِعَمَلِ أَهْلِ الْجَنَّةِ حَتَّى لَا يَكُونُ بَيْنَهَا وَبَيْنَهَا إِلَّا ذِرَاعٌ فَيَسْبِقُ عَلَيْهِ الْكِتَابِ فَيَعْمَلُ بِعَمَلِ أَهْلِ النَّارِ فَيَدْخُلُهَا. Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he says that one of you does from the actions of the people of Jannah until he's an arm's length away. He does from the actions of the people of Jannah. This person's not from the people of Jannah. This person's not really internalizing what the people of Jannah are about. But he's doing their actions as it appears. فِيمَا يَبْدُو لِلنَّاسِ. And then فَيَسْبِقُ عَلَيْهِ الْكِتَابِ. Then Allah's qadar comes to him. It exposes what's within. And then he does from the actions of the people of hellfire, he enters it. Because all along, he really was functioning in his life in a way that was disingenuous. A way that wasn't sincere. A way that really lacked devotion and ikhlas. And that was what was exposed at the very end. How it ends speaks volumes to how it began and how it was lived. That's how the believer perceives things. Going back to the janazahs. Reflections on the janazah. Take a look at this hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. It gives us a doorway into understanding what gives life significance. What makes a person's life valuable? What makes it precious? What makes it precious? Of course, all life is precious. That's without a doubt. Because Allah Azza wa Jalla is the one who gives people life. But what makes it extra special? Is it anything material, of material value and substance? No, everyone leaves that behind their back. وَتَرَكْتُمْ مَا خَوَّلْنَاكُمْ وَرَاءَ ظُهُورِكُمْ. Yeah, perhaps your son or daughter may or may not appreciate you leaving behind for them millions, leaving behind for them a house and a car and all that other stuff. But what beyond that? What makes life precious? What makes it special? Prophet ﷺ tells us, إن الله تعالى إذا أحب عبدا دعا جبريل فقال إني أحب فلانا فأحبه. Brothers, if you see any spaces, تقدموا إلى الأمام. Just so no one has to look through the rows and walk through the rows. جزاكم الله خير. افسحوا يفسح الله لكم. Any space you see, please fill it in so that the brothers in the back don't have to do تخط الرقاب. إن الله إني أحب فلانا فأحبه فيحبه جبريل. When Allah loves somebody, He calls Jibreel alayhi salam. And He says, I love this person, so love him. So Jibreel loves him. فيحبه جبريل. ثم ينادي في السماء فيقول إن الله يحب فلان فأحبوه فيحبه أهل السماء. Then Jibreel alayhi salam goes out and calls to those in the heavens, the angels. He calls out and he says, Allah loves this person, so love this person. So the angels start loving him and mentioning his praise. فيحبه أهل السماء ثم يوضع له القبول في الأرض. Then Allah Azza wa Jal puts a sense of acceptance in the hearts of many. Of course, not the hearts of everybody. There's always going to be people who dislike a good person. Yeah, that's always going to be there. But Allah is going to put the love in the hearts of people towards this person. Let me talk a little bit about the second Shaykh who passed away this week. His Janazah still hasn't happened. But already, within the matter of a day and a half, his story, what was his story? He came to America to give, for the sake of da'wah. It was on a da'wah trip. He came to lead Taraweeh, and he went to many different communities across the country. And every time he'd go to a city, it'd be posted throughout this month. If you follow social media a lot, you saw it, the Facebook postings. Because everyone wanted to hear his beautiful voice. He's been coming to America for many years. And Allah Azza wa Jal tested him with blindness, but gave him a very, very beautiful soul and a very, very beautiful voice. He would travel across the country, reciting Quran, sharing reminders, giving da'wah. And after Ramadan finished, he was still here. He didn't go back yet. He had a newborn waiting for him at home, back in Egypt. Allah Azza wa Jal be with his children and with his family and give them ease. He had a newborn waiting for him that he didn't see yet, and that he was going to go back and see. But then Allah's qadar came, and it came in the form on a day. He led Fajr in the masjid, and he spent the entire morning in dhikr. And some people even recorded his beautiful voice as he was doing some nasheed and remembering Allah, remembering a beautiful nasheed that says that, "Oh Allah, oh my Master, I've stood at your door, raising my hands." That's the part of the nasheed that he was reciting. And and Dhuhr comes. He led Dhuhr Salah. And then he went to rest in the masjid. He was sleeping in the masjid, in his place where in his residence in the masjid. He went to sleep. He didn't come down for Asr. He didn't come down for Maghrib. They checked on him and they found that he passed away in his sleep. Rahimahullah rahmatan wasi'a. Again, a young person. Allah's showing us. This person, the first one was making people or inspiring people to love the Prophet ﷺ. He passed away 35 years old. This one is in his late 30s. Inspiring people to love Allah through the Quran. And he was tested with his blindness. And one of the talks he had earlier in the month of Ramadan, he mentioned, Allah tested me with my blindness. And I pray that it'll be my ticket to Jannah, to paradise. And when he said that, everyone became very emotional. Because if you know anything about this second Shaykh, Shaykh Abdullah Kamil, He was a very emotional person. He was very emotional in his recitation and very emotional in his dua. As he's praying that Allah Azza wa Jal forgives his sins and accepts him. And you remark and you say, what type of sin would a blind person have? What does that say about me? With everything I could do and go to and look at and observe and engage in, someone who needs someone to help him around everywhere. I should be the one crying for my sin. I should be the one crying for the things I do. Allahu Akbar. This is a sign from Allah Azza wa Jalla. And you know, there's something even more profound here. A year ago, there was a rumor that came out that this same Shaykh who passed away a day and a half ago, actually passed away. But he was still alive. It was just a rumor. So he came out with a poem. He was a poet. He was very good in Arabic poetry. He came out with a poem, and he mentioned the news of his death, or the rumor of his death, and it now is a point of great reflection for us now. A few months ago, it was a rumor. Now Allah Azza wa Jal has made it a reality. And in that, there is إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَذِكْرَى لِمَنْ كَانَ لَهُ قَلْبٍ إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. In that is a sign for people who have hearts. In that is a sign for people who really think and contemplate and reflect. What's valuable? What matters? What's valuable? Someone who lived a life like that, were they denied? Were they rejected? Did they miss out? Many of the people who are fully functional and capable, who never get the chance to experience such beauty of connection with the words of Allah Azza wa Jalla as he did, and Allah hasibuh, Allah is best aware of him, are much more denied than someone who's tested in their blindness. Brothers and sisters, one of the lines of this poem that he made over the false rumor of his death. Again, very emotional words. He would speak from his entire being. He was a very emotional person. He said, رحماك لم أرى نور دنياهم فبشرني بأن القبر نور أنور. These are his words. And again, this is a big reminder for everyone. He says, رحماك, oh Allah, your mercy. I haven't seen the nur of their dunya, the light of their dunya, because he was blind. So give me glad tidings that the nur of my grave is a very illuminating light. I pray that Allah Azza wa Jal, as he goes into his grave today, I pray that Allah Azza wa Jal makes his grave nurun anwaru, as he prayed months before he actually passed away. Big difference between the nur of this dunya and the nur of the qabr. If you had to make a choice, okay, it's hard when you have to make the choice, but when the choice is made for you, it's a lot easier. At that point, you need to be patient. If you had to make a choice between the nur of these lights, an actual nur of the rahmah of Allah Azza wa Jal, do they compare? These are LEDs. The nur of Allah Azza wa Jal, the rahmah of Allah Azza wa Jal. That's something so beyond anything our hands could touch. Anything, it's so beyond anything tangible. You know, that's what Ramadan taught us, brothers and sisters. Wallahi, it taught us, if I was honest with myself and I compare this week to the past 4 weeks before it, did I not feel a sense of nur in my life that's very different? This week is way different than the 4 weeks before it. Come on, I need to make that decision. I need to make that decision. This week shows me that, hey, you know what? The tangible is very peripheral. It doesn't matter. The tangible doesn't really matter. A lot of people have a lot of things they could put their hands on, but they're not happy. But Ramadan made us happy. Having Allah or the Prophet ﷺ in your heart will really make you happy. It doesn't matter if your death comes to you when you're 35 or you're 40 or you're 50 or 60 or 70. If you don't have Allah, utterly bankrupt. If you have Allah, Ya Allah, what a beautiful thing you're going to transition to. Today, you might, everyone, when someone passes away, everyone, they say this in the reminders, They say this, hey, when you go to your grave, when you came into this dunya, you were crying. and everyone was rejoicing and happy. Everyone was happy. Everyone was happy. You came into this dunya as a baby. Your mother, your father, your family. When you go to your grave, everyone's going to be crying. Make sure you're not crying along with them as you're being carried. The mayyit has a sense. The mayyit can feel things. The mayyit can hear things. We learned this from many hadiths of the Prophet ﷺ. The mayyit could hear the dua of people making dua for him or her. When you go to your grave, are you going to be happy while everyone else is crying? Or are they going to be happy and you're going to be crying? Something to think about, brothers and sisters. Brothers and sisters, again, brothers, تقدموا إلى الأمام. يفسح الله لكم. If you see any space at all, please fill it in. جزاكم الله خير. This dunya is a transitional state. يا أطول النبيين عمرا كيف وجدت الدنيا وزينتها. Sayyidina Nuh alayhi salam was told by Malak al-Maut, O Prophet who's lived longest, how have you found the dunya and its pleasures? كيف وجدت الدنيا وزينتها. And he said, كمن دخل دارا فوقف في وسطها هنيهة ثم خرج من الباب الآخر. Like someone who entered a house and stood in the middle for a short period of time, and then went out the other exit. That's the reality of dunya. We're all in utter need. We can't stop death when it's coming our way. You simply can't. Yeah, you could try your best to go to the doctor and medicate anything that needs to be medicated. But when death is meant to come truly, it's going to come. When death is meant to come truly, it's going to come. And that's something to think about. There's one of the beautiful quotes by one of the scholars of the past, is Imam al-Qayyim. He speaks about tawfiq and khudlan. And he says that true tawfiq is realizing your utter need. And true khudlan is losing sight of your utter need. I'm a very needy human being. Not in the sense of, and not in any degrading sense. Because when I realize I need Allah, I'm actually realizing reality, haqiqah. When I'm blind to that, I'm being delusional. He says, من ها هنا خذل من خذل ووفق من وفق فحجب المخذول عن حقيقته ونسي نفسه فنسي فقره وحاجته وضرورته إلى ربه فطغى وعتى فحقت عليه الشقاوة. He says, this is exactly what khudlan means. What is khudlan? Khudlan means is being denied divine assistance. That's what khudlan is. Tawfiq is being given assistance, divine aid from Allah Azza wa Jal. That's what tawfiq is. Tawfiq is a word that we're mostly familiar with. Khudlan, maybe those who are familiar with the Arabic tongue will be familiar with that word. But anyway, he says, فَحُجِبَ الْمَخْذُولُ عَنْ حَقِيقَتِهِ. That person who has been denied, truly denied, has been blinded to his reality, so he's delusional. He forgot himself. He forgot his need of his Creator. So what happened consequentially? فَطَغَى وَعَتَى فَحَقَّتْ عَلَيْهِ الشَّقَاوَةِ. Because of that, he transgressed. He exceeded the bounds. He did haram. Right? Again, brothers, تقدموا إلى الإمام. You see a row in front of you? Please fill it. There's brothers who are they're standing on the windowsill. Please. You see a row in front of you? Fill it in. جزاكم الله خير. You see spaces in front of you? Come. لينوا بين أيدي إخوانكم. لينوا بين أيدي إخوانكم. MashaAllah, there's tons of space in the masjid. We just need to be willing to make space for each other. جزاكم الله خير. فَطَغَى وَعَتَى. You know, most of the sins that people commit come from this delusional reality. Person loses sight of haqiqat ad-dunya. I get so caught up in foolish, unnecessary argument, disagreement. And that's the reality of it. The reality of it is I get caught up in the nitty-gritty and the details, and I lose sight of bigger picture. Our Salaf were very, very keen on having perspective on khatima, the reality of conclusion of life, end of life. One of them, his name is Sufyan al-Thawri. And one of his students, one of his family members, saw him crying profusely one time. And they felt bad for him. They said, "Atabki dhunub? Are you crying from your sin? Are you crying from your sin?" And then he says, "الذنوب أهون علي من هذه وأشار إلى تبنة بيده إنما أخاف سوء الخاتمة." He says, he looked at the ground and he said, "Sins are far less significant to me than this." And he pointed at the dirt. Dirt is very significant. We get disgusted from dirt, right? We brush it off our clothes. "Oh man, I got dirt all over my sneakers." That dirt is going to surround me one day. It's going to be on top of me. He says, sins, whatever sin it is, you're talking about an illicit relationship, talking about, consuming something haram, or taking something that doesn't belong to you, or oppressing another human being, or whatever sin you're talking about. He says, that's less significant, less worthy for me than this dirt. This dirt is more valuable. Why? Because it's going to be on top of me one day. And there's another quote by him, and he says in it, he was crying again, and he was asked, "Why are you crying?" So he says, "أخاف أن أكون في الكتاب شقيا." I'm afraid that in the unknown and the unseen reality right now, like if I wish I could just know. I wish we could all know. Where do I stand right now? Pass or fail? Where am I going? Right? Where am I going? This is something I need to ask myself. I don't know. I wish I could just know that I wasn't from al-ashqiya fi al-kitab. Husn al-khatima, brothers and sisters, is a really big deal. It's not something that you just get like that. You say La ilaha illallah as your last words. Oh, that means you're going to be from the people of Jannah. It's not about words. It's not about words, wallahi. It's about tawfiq ilahi. It's about guidance from Allah Azza wa Jal. It's about Allah Azza wa Jal enabling you to say those words. The questions in the grave are easy to answer. Your child could answer them. But the one who's going to be able to answer them is someone who's lived accordingly. Ask Allah Azza wa Jal to accept from us and guide us. Allahumma ameen. Wadu Allah wa antum muqinuna bil ijaba. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد أشرف الخلق وسيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله ولتنظر نفس ما قدمت لغد واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون. أما بعد, brothers and sisters, the lesson from Ramadan and this week 1 after Ramadan is things aren't as they seem. I need to make a critical decision to restructure my priorities. I need to have different priorities. I can't allow anything to pull me away from Allah Azza wa Jal, from the masjid. I can't allow anyone or anything to deter me away from seeking His rida. I can't allow myself to fall into any delusions of the present moment. I need to do everything I possibly can to make sure that my life's meaningful and worthwhile. I have examples of how to do that in front of me. With a sheikh passing away, a sheikh whose life has been beautified and illuminated by the Quran, and another whose life has been beautified and illuminated by love of the Prophet ﷺ. What can I do? What can I do to give myself a meaningful exit to this dunya? That's the question for this khutbah. May Allah Azza wa Jal accept from us and guide us, and make us of those who take advantage of every moment and have good perspective on their lives. May Allah Azza wa Jal give us al-haya al-tayyibah. May Allah give us the pleasant life in nearness to Him, in the shade of His assistance and His aid and His guidance and His tawfiq. Allahumma ameen. اللهم اغفر لنا وارحمنا وعافنا واعف عنا وتجاوز عن سيئاتنا. اللهم اغفر لصغيرنا وكبيرنا وذكرنا وانثانا وشاهدنا وغائبنا. اللهم من أحييته منا فأحيه على الإيمان، ومن أمته منا فأمته على الإسلام. اللهم اجعل خير عمرنا آخرة، واجعل خير عملنا خواتمة، واجعل خير أيامنا يوم نلقاك فيه وأنت راض عنا. آمين آمين. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين، وأقم الصلاة.